You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available on podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
Hey guys, welcome to Lifestyle Central, your one-stop shop for everything life and style.
On this show, we'll be talking about all the latest trends, the biggest news, and the best places.
So sit back, relax, call a friend, and enjoy.
Oh, by the way, my name is Winfrey Daniel Kolo.
And my name is Adro Esigbone, and this show is going to be boom shakalaka.
Aspects in different fields, and of course this I think is really necessary because everything is going digital, right? So for the longest time, I will say, in my opinion, right, you can correct me if I'm wrong, tech was obviously, the tech space was seen for something that was seen as something dominated mostly by men, right? Why do you think that was the situation, and what do you think made women shy away from it for the longest time, and then what eventually now made it a thing? Because now, women in tech is like, it's a thing. Do you understand? So what now happened that literally just revolutionized that space and made it a big deal for women to actually be in tech?
Okay, so I think great question, and you're absolutely correct. For the longest time, it was a tech, in fact, male dominated, and to be honest, it still largely is, but a lot of work is, of course, being done. And I think it really started from way back, and this really is from when we were children growing up, and it seemed like things around engineering, so STEM, science, technology, mathematics, engineering, seemed more like guy kind of subjects, essentially. And then, being a lawyer and an accountant sort of seemed more like, okay, this is more feminine in a sense. So you had people like, I think they say it's an unconscious bias where, even people just felt like parents, even teachers sort of subconsciously say, oh, no, this is what you're good at. Okay. So what happened from there, I think, is that, of course, people then went into courses that, of course, were more skewed towards that. And then even in university, I remember when I was in university, in a class of maybe 50, around computing, you get maybe like 4 girls or something like that. We all knew who we were.
I know tech girls was a thing in my secondary school.
Exactly. So then you grow up, and of course, you then get into the workplace as well. Of course, it then even becomes worse, because what even happens is there's even a drop. So women that start worldwide, there's usually around a 10% drop. So even if you study computing and then you start working, they find it a bit difficult because there's no support. No one was conscious about it. So this is not, it seems like more like a guy thing, and then next thing, you go and do something else. But I think over the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, a lot has happened, and it's not just even in tech. I think there's been a conscious drive to strengthen women.
True.
And then what's also happened is that people have seen that technology is a game changer for everyone. It's not just, technology is not just, it's no longer like a course or anything. It's a core. It's now core. And, people could see that there was, of course, a lack of women. There wasn't an environment they could also thrive in. So there's been a conscious effort, I think, driven by women needing to be more empowered, and then also technology being the center of everything. And it's almost like I say that when you leave women out, it's like leaving money on the table, because there's a big scarcity of women in technology. There's a big scarcity of technology talent, actually. Okay. And then there's now women are just hardly there either. So it's just, I think both together have brought us to where we are now. Yeah.
Okay, so now you say that it's still male dominated and all of that. What would you say is the major challenge women presently in tech face?
Okay, so I think it's a lot of things, and should I speak more on the women in tech like working,
like
yes.
Working, of course, because you're like, you spoke about how from school the margin was already it was little. Then going to the workspace, you notice that people drop off because not enough support. So in terms of support, what exactly do you mean?
Okay, so I'll give you an example. It's not. I wouldn't say it's easy going into a meeting or going to work, and then you arrive there. And then in all your 11 colleagues, you're the only woman there. Yeah. There's a lot. First of all, there's a subconscious thing that happens, especially when you're not used to it. And just, for women and men are very different. Men are more, I'm pushing my hands forward. I know people can't see me, but it's more like,
they're more forward.
Yeah. Women are usually a bit, laid back. So you get into those rooms and discussions are happening, and that confidence a lot of times to actually speak up and give your views is just not there. And then you struggle. A lot of times there's nobody there, there's no woman even there for you to see, to even convince you that this is a promising direction to go. True. I remember for the longest time, I think up to 11 years in my career, I never had a female supervisor. I didn't even know what that was like. In fact, the time I found I was having a supervisor, I remember thinking, Jesus, how is it going to be? Is it going to be okay? Because I never
I'm not used to it.
Used to it. So you don't have that vision. You can't see anyone there. So, and then a lot of times I think employers don't pay attention to that. So, there needs to be a conscious effort to encourage and say, that diversity. So, I would say it's a bit of a harder climate, around those three things I mentioned, that happens when you get into the workplace. Yeah. And then even outside of work, the community, you don't really have anyone to even support. Okay, you go, your friends are talking about, my office, we're maybe 6 girls and, you can't even, there's no one to even relate to and say, this is what I'm facing. And it just seems you're in the wrong place. So I think it can be quite tough.
All right. So flowing from that question of, okay, fine, no one to relate to, what is the attitude of women towards women in the tech industry?
Okay.
Is it supportive, or is it like, okay, I got here, okay, let's see, do you have what it takes? We're going to take you in. Do you have that there?
Okay, so I think that when I first started, that was about 14 years ago, I don't think that at that time women were really conscious of that need to come together, because it happens everywhere. So you go for a meeting and then there are all these guys in there, and then you're sitting down trying to find your voice, and then, one guy says, I think we should do this, do this, that. And then the other guy, they sort of back themselves up, yes, we'll do this. And, and next thing they've made a decision, perhaps you didn't even say anything. And then in your mind, you even think it's a bad direction, a bad idea. Yeah. And you don't say anything. And you find that even as women, everyone is just sitting there, there's no conscious effort to say, yes, I support her, what she's saying is right, and all of that. So it's almost like, I don't think at that time a lot of we had actually really come together the way that we have now. But I think over the years, with the conscious effort and drive that's been made, I think that there's a lot of support in the industry. I mean, some in fact, I've worked in companies that there's now a women's kind of group. So we're even saying in the meeting, see, if you get to the meeting, this is what you do.
There is one in my office.
Okay. If you get to the meeting and she says something, please just say yes. So it's like things have really grown or changed or are changing. So
Okay, that's great. Hey, Drew.
I was wondering why we were hitting my foot. That's what was distracting me. That was the table. Sorry. Okay. Thank you so much, Lola, for coming on the show. When you spoke about the thing about guys backing each other up, it just reminds me of, I think, for me, the defining time where I completely, the time in my life where I completely abandoned the notion that men are good for one thing and women are not. It was in math class, I think, on primary 3, holiday lessons, and the question was on ratio. Now, the teacher asked the question, and I knew the answer. And then all the guys chose the wrong answer. And then all the girls chose the right answer. And my teacher looks at me and says, Ejiro, so who are you going to go with?
Okay.
There were more guys. There were just a lot of guys. And they were like, join us. And I was like, and I just didn't want to be the one that would betray my guys. And so I joined them, and then obviously the teacher was like, well, Adriel, you and you're all wrong because the girls are right. And I hate to be wrong like that. So when I was going home that day, I was just angry, and I decided never again, right? And so
what a lesson.
Then I started separating gender from ability, all right, which I feel is something that people don't have the ability to do. Winfrey has asked a couple of questions about your general challenges of women. I want to talk about you specifically. I think that everything has two sides, right? Because when you're talking about being the only one in the room, for a long time I was the youngest person in my class. I used to feel special. I used to make me feel cool. I'm like, so I think my question is, what do you think the benefits are of being a diamond? Because you're rare. Okay, diamonds are not so rare, but let's just, for the purpose of illustration, for like a diamond, you're rare in the space. Do you feel like that has any advantages or just disadvantages?
To be honest, right, I would say it has a lot of advantages, and it took me a while to actually realize, you grow, and then you sort of look back. People say, "Oh, you have this, or you're good at that," and then you're trying to connect the dots and think, "How did that happen?" And then you realize that it's because of your experiences, like your unique experiences, that has actually made you who you are, just as you said. Yeah. So I think for me, honestly, I would say there's just been positives, because I've seen everything as a learning experience. It's helped me grow as a person. There are just some really important lessons I've learned along the way, and that have helped me even now that I'm in senior management, and it's been sort of an easy sort of flow into that, and it's because of things like this. For me, all those times you sit in a room, so there's just a couple of things. I'll go through a few. So those days, I remember I was really young. You sit in a room, you're the only lady there, people are saying a lot of things, and then you don't agree, and then you don't say anything, and then you leave the room, and then they run and do this thing, and then it's wrong, and then you realize that you actually had it, and then why didn't you say it? And I think that sort of helped with confidence, because then it became important for me that if I go into a room, I always have to share my opinion. If not, what am I doing there? Like, I'm not a seat warmer. Like, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
I have to share my opinion, and it means something, and it could be a game changer. So I think that is something that I took then, and it was a hard lesson. But I think going up now, like, honestly, like...
So now, how do you do that? How did you just say, shut up?
And I'll come to that around the shut up part, because I don't do that at all. And so that has been so, I think, just building myself up. In terms of value as well, I learned that, despite what people may say, maybe people don't listen to women and all this, I find that if you actually know what you're saying, it's very difficult for people to argue with facts. So if you have prepared, you get where you're going, even if there are 20,000 men or whatever that number is, and you get in there and you say, you know what, I think this or I think that, people actually listen to facts. Everyone wants their businesses to progress.
Yeah.
So it's really important to do that. A couple of things I also learned is, even just on the fact that, well, now I would say that, to be fair, when I go into rooms, because what happens when you move up to senior management as well, leadership, there's also a scarcity of women there. So, that's another issue around board representation and all these other things. But the thing is, for me, this is already my norm. Like, do you understand what I mean? Like, I get in there and, like, I don't even see... If I'm there for business, I don't even know who's in the room. Like, all I'm thinking about is profiles. Who is this? As opposed to, how many men are women or there. And so I think it's really helped me. And just to speak to that bit about, shouting and all that, I think something for me that I made very conscious, because when you're going through that kind of journey, there's a lot of times where you doubt yourself and you sort of ask questions. Things like as simple as even how you dress. Like, I've always been, I love dressing up type thing. And I remember going to office and there's no one really dressing up and they're looking at you funny. And then you start to ask yourself, well, maybe you should tone yourself down and all of that. And I realized, no, I don't want to tone myself down. If this is what I like, then do you understand? This is who I am.
To have to take me like that.
And it doesn't mean that because you look a certain way, you can't be good at what you do. Because, there's this view that maybe because tech people, they're a bit like this or like that. But I find that you can be, you don't have to be, you can be who whoever you want. And then you don't have to also be the woman who is shouting because you're,
Yes, because you're trying to be,
because you're trying to be, prove that you are somebody.
Heard,
I find that women have a special way of speaking and leading, and it actually really works, even with men. You don't have to try and be like a man. Yes, no. You can get the same results after all. That's what you're after, right? So
just give us a few tips. I'm asking for the women out there. We need to know.
So that's how we need to now say, that's how you've been leading me. Okay. Yeah. I think so. One of the reasons why I like tech, right, is that the barriers to entry are very low. I've seen many people in my own personal life, or my friends, who have no tech background. Like when I mean like they didn't study anything tech related in school, and they have built tech careers. I know that programming takes a lot of discipline. Now, because we've established that by and large, women who are now in their late 20s or like from 25 upwards would probably have been exposed to fewer tech opportunities than men. I want us to say, based on like the fact that the barriers to entry are low, that they can still get in. So I think the question then, so I have a friend, her name is Bolanle Banwo. She has like a school, and she usually like gets scholarships for women to learn UI UX. The question I'm asking is, what are the possible for all the women out there who don't have tech backgrounds, what would you advise are the possible gateways? How should they get in? Product development, product management, business dev, UI UX. What do you think are the gateways for them to get in, which makes sense?
Okay, just to say, I actually, when I was younger, I actually thought I was going to be either a doctor or a veterinary doctor.
Okay,
that was my aim.
Yeah,
and then I did the JAM and everything, and went into pre-degree in University of Lagos, and then I was given this course, cell biology and genetics, and then they just gave that course to me, and then my whole life I was like, what am I doing? My parents weren't happy, and they were like, okay, let's look at other options. And then we found a course, computer science foundation course in the UK. I'd never done any programming or anything like that. I didn't even know much about it, other than I think there was a Fortran course which was so dated then that I saw in University of Lagos. And then I just got on the course. My father was like, if you don't like it, it's fine, we'll just choose whatever. And then I literally came onto Java programming for the first time. I just saw that, and honestly, this thing just worked. Like, I was like, oh my God, I was so excited. I mean, literally, it just made so much sense to me. Okay. I remember my lecturer, Jeanette Ricks. I actually got the highest score in that Java course that they ever gotten in university. So it was like, I was so excited, like, oh my God, which told me that, look, life happens or time a chance, but sometimes you just don't know how good you are at something until you actually go for it. So I think that you've already mentioned like so many things people could do. So software engineering, so programming, learning Java. But I think that just as you said, there's so many opportunities online right now. So there's courses online. There's people who have dedicated schools. So even if you go on Udemy right now and you're trying to learn something around product development or even programming 101, you can actually start that way. And then there's so many training schools out there at the moment. So, I mean, schools like Semicolon, for instance, they actually train you on specific courses. So what they've done is they've essentially looked at what is needed in the industry. And they're training people on there to, get courses. Decagon also does the same.
I know Decagon.
Yes, exactly. So there are actually a couple of them out there. There's Girl Code. for women, and they actually have these courses where they train people. Honestly, I think a simple Google search of, I want to even be a programmer, I want to be your UI UX, you come up with so many things. There are a lot of grants as well for some of these schools. So I think there's opportunity, then there's a scarcity. That one, I mean, I work in the industry. We're looking for people like all the time. So it's definitely a very good area to go into now.
Okay, so okay, fine. We spoke about scarcity. We've established that point that, okay, there is a scarcity and all of that. And in the industry, there's a constant search for people in tech generally, and then women in particular. So are there any, will I say groups or bodies set up to encourage and enlighten people about, going into tech, specifically for women? I think recently I came across one, I think it was a summit kind of thing that was being organized by a particular company and all of that, and of encouraging people that had no background in it whatsoever to come in. And it was like a day or so. I think you just register and all of that, but I think registration was free, register online and then coming. Are there more things like that? I mean, what is happening? I won't ask in government now because you obviously don't know about that. But what are there groups like that are actually encouraging young women out there to go out? Like a support system to actually come into the tech industry? Or are we've realized the scarcity, or are we just waiting and saying, okay, fine, let's just see? You understand? If they, No.
So I think if anything, right now, some people that are not in tech will say, we have gone overboard now, and we have too many people, like too many programs and all of that. So I think, no, there's definitely a lot of mentoring programs. So that's one. Some are not specific to tech, but what happens is they have like a pool of mentors in there, and then they're all in different sectors. So then if you're in tech, they will sort of match you on there. Okay. So you have things like She Leads Africa, WIMBIZ as well. They have some of those tailored programs. There's also Femtech in FinTech. So this is, they are largely women in technology. So I think what the model that I think is quite popular now has a lot to do with coaching and mentorship. So people, WTech also does that as well. What it is you sign on if you're looking for that kind of support, and then there's a community, and then they match you with a person for a couple of months, and then you guys sort of form that connection after, and sort of helps you through your career. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question very, very shortly about your startups. But I just remember the conversation I had this morning with someone on my TL who was actually concerned. This really doesn't have much to do with our topic, but it's loosely related. So once in a while we say the future is female, right? And people say that sometimes, and I understand. I think I understand it, right? And this guy texts me and says, "Hey, Jiro, I have been seeing people say the future is female. Can you explain what that means to me?" And so I go, I think what they are trying to say when they say the future is female is that we are working towards a world where opportunities, resources, power, position, access is sort of more balanced between males and females. I said, and I feel like they are using that to aggressively pursue this future that we're seeking, right? And he says, so if I have a male child who is hearing the future is female, what exactly should I be telling my male child? So what's your take on this
the future
the future is female?
I actually find this really funny because I had a discussion about this with my husband about 3 weeks ago. I actually saw it on LinkedIn. I mean, I'd been seeing it, and I saw it in LinkedIn, and I called him. I was like, "Look, this thing is bothering me." And he was like, "How? I mean, you're female, right?" I was actually the one that said it. I was like, "But what does he think?" And I had a lot on my mind.
Yeah.
So it's good that you've asked this question.
Now you can share. You can upload.
To me, if I'm being honest, I find it's a very tricky one, and it could be a little worrying. And I actually took a seat. into the man's world, because for me, the thing is, I've worked with men. I have guys who I am their mentor. So it's like, do you understand? I'm not just female, like in that sense, focused, because that's the industry I've worked in. I can't say, oh no, you guys just, my whole team at some point has been male. So it's almost like you can't ignore that part. And so I was like, so how are they feeling? What's the message here, And I felt like, for me, I think the future is diversity. And I think that's what we should be looking at. I think future is female is scary, even for me as a female, because I personally, I don't want a world where we're all just female and then we're all at the top and then we're all trying to figure it out. I'd rather, it's diverse, because diversity is what wins. And I think we've seen it in McKinsey studies all around the world, how it's diversity that matters. It's diversity that actually brings about change, and companies that are diverse are the best and the best performers. So I think for me, that narrative of, I can understand where it's coming from and why it's being said, and I think it's maybe to drive, this. Yes. But I think we should be careful about it. I think the future is diversity. I think women, gender equality, gender empowerment for females is critical, inclusion. But I'm not a big fan of that tagline. Future is female for both sides. I mean, the intention might be great, but then again, it might be misconstrued.
The guy was very worried.
I'm not surprised.
Very worried. So, and I think the reason why I remember that now is, I'm sorry, we're talking women in tech today. Which I can't tell you I'm sorry. It's for all of us, right? So you said so many things, and as you were saying them, I was thinking, so what are the communities for men in tech? Because there are studies that are showing now that women are performing way better at school, right? And I've seen that women are structuring mentorship and passing knowledge and passing the baton and holding each other up and supporting it. There's so much more structure. But for men, it's almost like, you'll figure it out. But many men aren't figuring it out. So that just reminded me that, that's what this guy was worried about, man. Because, for example, in my office, we have a women network. Like, they have meetings, they go to fancy hotels, and they have things that they do, and meetings, they have PowerPoint meetings. But we, the men, it's almost like, you guys are fine. But I do not think that we're fine. I think that many men are trying to figure things out, trying to figure their career out, but there's no structured, there's no structure in place to just like help them actualize.
I just wanted to say something. I had some people in my team, guys, and there was this AGS Tribe event around, developing yourself, and apparently they turned up for the event. They didn't know it was it was a female event. So I saw a picture of it. I was like, guys, they didn't know, but they allowed them attend. So what you're saying is true. Like, they don't know where they don't know where to go. Like, for the ones that actually want to. So it's a bit.
It's actually very true. And funny thing is, I've actually asked someone that question before. For instance, where I used to work, I had a celebrity right on the seat, and then of course we're talking about different things and all of that, and we're talking about different groups. And my friend came over. She has this Girl Power Foundation. I'm running Pattern Academy. This one is running this one for Girl Hub. This one, that one. I honestly asked the question because
the men things.
The men. I'm like, okay, we need. I remember actually speaking to a male celebrity, and I told him, I'm like, we need to try to do something for the guys, because whether we like it or not, right, they're out there, and I haven't have guys in my DM actually sending me a message and all of that. Very few of them will actually accept the fact that they are also looking for guidance. But it's like all the men that are there are so focused on getting their own self sorted out, and then they're not necessarily think of mentorship for the guys. And the women don't want to go into it because it's like, okay, you guys are literally
it's our time.
This is our time. So really, so it's just I don't know. I just hope. I don't think it'll happen, but anyways, men, you guys have really strong voice.
The future will be unbalanced.
It will be unbalanced. Exactly. It will not go back.
That's a concern for.
It's the same thing. Okay, as much as I don't want to say it, because a lot of times when I actually say it, it's actually misconstrued when I talk about race. I mean, black is now South Africa, South Africa. And I was actually watching a video, and then a white girl was actually in the video and in the midst of black people, and people at the office literally started bashing this girl. I'm like, why do you use that? And I'm like, is she not also a human being? And there's the other black people there. So I'm like, that aggression, the idea is not to pull one race down to lift the other, because that's what actually brought us to where we were now. The same thing, the idea is not to pull one sex down to lift up the other. The idea is to empower the less empowered, and then we all come to a level ground. But I think we need to start to
consciously thinking about
concentrating exactly, and concentrating on evenness as opposed to.
The future is diverse. I'll tell my friends that I spoke to the women community. They assured me that the future is diverse. Okay, so let's dive very quickly into your startups. You have two. One is transthat.com. The other one I don't know yet. So I saw something on your Instagram bio. Do you have like a network for professionals? There's something that you have?
Is it Weekender HQ?
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe you can talk us through all the other things that are not on your
Yeah. Okay. So I've done a lot of things. I like to think I'm not boxed, and I can be tech today, I can be travel tomorrow, lifestyle next tomorrow.
Yes,
So I do have a blog called Weekender HQ, and it talks about travel experiences. So I've traveled to like over 30-something countries, so writing about that journey and what the
you've traveled to 30-something countries,
and many cities, of course. So
wow,
writing about that, writing about that experience, writing about that journey. I do have something coming out soon, so I'll let you guys know something interesting around cities.
Nice.
And then my active startup, the one that is running at the moment, TransThat, is really around solving the problem of, and this was before COVID, but I think COVID has caused us to all think about our business models and how we're running and what is viable. What it was around that problem where I'm in Nigeria and there's something that I missed in London, or somebody was coming tonight and you wanted to sort of connect a traveler with you and your need in Nigeria. So we had travelers who were essentially couriers who were actually helping, with luggage or something important that you needed that you couldn't quite. But I think with the travel and COVID,
I dreamt moms
with the restrictions.
I dreamt moms.
Yeah, you know what I mean. All sorts of things.
Okay.
So yes.
Is there a second one?
So that was in the past. That's not active right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So this thing that's coming up that you want to tell us about. You can't talk about it here?
I have to wait. Maybe when it's out, I'll let you know. And then, yes.
So now I want to ask this question. Okay. You work in a bank.
Yes.
In a Nigerian bank. Okay. I have a sister that works in a bank. And the way I see it, once you are doing bank work, you die there. So how do you manage to juggle all these other things? Yeah, we understand that. Yeah, it's tech, so it's probably, I don't know, but still people don't find themselves at that point where they can actually just separate and say, okay, fine, sort this out and still get back and still thrive with all of that. So how do you do it? And also, is there not like a thing against having other things while working on just...
Yeah, so I think it depends, and different banks have their policies and all that. And I do agree. I think working with banks can be quite scary. I remember before I came from the UK here, I was like, oh my God, what is it going to be like? I've heard all sorts of crazy stories that have
Nigeria.
them owning your life and taking your blood, and all of that. So, but I think that what I've learned is life doesn't stop. I can't tell you that, I just have this time just sitting down and, in this time, that's when I, do you understand what I mean? I find myself switching. I can switch, I could be in a meeting with you now talking about, I don't know, the next year's plan for, I don't know, digital something. I could be in another meeting now, 1 minute later talking about open banking. I could be in another meeting, 1 minute later talking about travel. So it's almost I think for me, the best thing, or the thing I've learned that has helped me, is really just that ability to quickly switch. Whenever I have that spare time, it's almost okay, sit down and be like, okay, now I need to sort of
remove
that hat and I was like, this is my life. You know what I mean? I want to do these things, and I feel like I'm on a path, and there are things that are important to me. So I just have to, even if I can make productive time of 30 minutes. Unbelievable. I can skim through. These are skills you actually need to learn. You can read a document. I can be in a meeting now about something, and have a different meeting the next hour, and I only had 5 minutes before that one to get my help, I can enter that. I'll just look through, enter the next meeting, and honestly, you think that I have been sitting down. So I think it's life is moving, and it's really just learning that it's dynamic. You make your best time, like the best you can with the time you have. If you can't change, your situation, you almost need to just move with it, really.
So what motivates you? What keeps it going for you? What is that thing that makes you say, you know what, all these things, I want to do them, I'm going to do them? In those times where you actually feel, I feel everybody has those days where you actually feel, you know what, I'm exhausted today. What is it that gets you back on track?
I think for me, it's purpose and impact, I feel like I'm on a path, and I'm going somewhere important, and somewhere where what I'm doing or the journey, on the journey there, what I'm doing has impact. So I'm working today in digital and innovation. I'm in a country where, these things matter, like digital, like the future of the country, what we can do, how we can innovate, how we can solve problems, important problems for the company, for Nigeria, being a part of those conversations around the next, it's like the industry is fresh. Today we're talking about open banking, do you understand what I mean? Just how
there's so much impact that you can make while you're here.
Yes. Exactly. So I think for me, that feeling that I am on a path of purpose and what I'm doing matters and has an impact, I think that does it for me. I've actually been in jobs before where I just, honestly, I'll just be like, God, what am I doing here? I'll still do my best, but it's sort of a different kind of feel. So that really drives, that wakes me up. Like, seriously, I can be up at 5, I'll go running, getting, I'm like, what's next? What are we doing? That sort of energy. So
great.
Sounds good. So as we close, last question, because this
cannot be the last question. I need to ask this next one. But okay, go ahead.
We don't have time more.
We'll go ahead.
Okay. All right. So my last question, right? You said you feel like you're going somewhere, and that drives you. I feel like you're going somewhere. I can sense it.
I definitely feel it also.
I can sense it. I can sense it. I think the question for me, I believe that even though we've spoken about all of these networks and stuff that is available to women, I feel like, not just women actually, a lot of people feel like they're in a rut. And I think one time I was having a conversation with some people about technology, and I said, I believe one of the things I like about technology is that it can transform. It can transform problems into opportunities, and it can transform helpless people into solution providers, right? So for people who are in a mental rut, just like hustling through this Nigerian economy, working through this difficult times that many people are in, what's your charge? What are your last words from here, from this our cubicle to them today to say you can move from where you are to doing stuff that is important and that is impactful? So okay,
I would say that honestly, to be honest, I empathize because I know how it is. Like when I hear people are going to Canada or whatever, I'm just like, all the best, because do you understand? It can be really challenging. I think the climate and all that. But I think that you have to really make the best of whatever situation. Time is money. Time is everything. So I would say that, wherever you are now, Nigeria actually, despite everything you may feel, has opportunities, and it's really about locating the opportunities, finding the right one that would take you or sort of make a difference. I think that's the key thing. And I think to do that, you really need to stand up. You need to actually look around. As I said, let's even say today you wanted to, go into something around even just design thinking, digital marketing and all that. I think the first step would even be just even going online. If you have a computer, okay, where is my closest free, as in I'm even talking about free right now, there's even Google is giving free digital skills, Microsoft is giving as well. So I think just getting into, and they have communities. So I think that's even your first step. So even if it's not in technology, it's in something else that you feel there's a problem there, I think just trying to locate what you need. If there's anybody that is in that field, I think just sort of getting that sort of time to actually just have a quick catch up. This is what I'm thinking. I think you don't fail, you learn. You know, I've started startups myself that, you know, honestly, you know, but I really, really learned a lot, and no one can take that from me.
True.
So I think it's really just getting yourself out. There's so much knowledge available, trying to get that knowledge, trying to get the right network, and just starting something, anything. You know, there's so many, even if you have an idea in your house. I mean, Union Bank, we just had a Union X challenge where we're looking for people with fresh ideas. You can look around, even try. You know, I think that's the first step. And then I think you could also find people in your own crew who are going through what you're going through, so that you can also see what opportunities 3 of you can have, or 2 of you can do together. You know, so I think those are some key things.
We actually really don't have time, but I was going to ask about 3 things, but now I won't. Wait. No, like, what is that one thing that if you were to wake up tomorrow as the president of Nigeria, you will you actually digitalize that one thing, just in case peradventure somebody somewhere that house is just
if you ask me right now, I would say voting.
Okay,
because that's the only way to change our country right now. Actually, you know, we need to digitize that voting. You know, if I could,
because the people are
we need people to be able to have a voice. We need to make it easy. You said it earlier that things are like unnecessarily hard. You know, and I think that would be a way to sort of make that whole process transparent,
very
and easy.
Because most of the people that they pay are too illiterate to even understand what's on the capital. Just saying.
All right, thank you so much, Lola, for. This was amazing. We could do 1 hour, another hour. We could do 5. You'll be tired. But really, I think we could not have had anybody better to talk through this with us, and we're so grateful.
Thank you.
I don't think we have time to go on a break, so I'm going to merge trending and spotlight together.
Do it. Let's go.
I'm going to trend and spotlight Bankly. Right?
Yeah.
The good thing is that Bankly is also one of the co-founders of Bankly is a woman in tech, and her name is Lola Ekugo, right? So Bankly is a fintech product that sort of digitized the whole Esusu movement. You know, like how people used to save in Nigeria. They were saving 100 naira per day, blah, blah, blah. So they decided that whole system, that whole outside the economy cash needs to be formalized and like brought in, because we really have a high unbanked population and many of them operate through that means. So that's what they have done. So that's what we spotlight, right? So fantastic work, Lola and Frederick, right? Now the reason why they are trending is because they just raised $2 million in investments to preach this their gospel of digital Isusu.
Nice,
so fantastic work, the Bankly team. We're rooting for you. We're rooting for African tech, African-led tech, and African solutions for African problems. All right, so that's it from me on Spotlight /Trending.
That's what we love it, Drew. He's a fixer guy. Fixes everything up. And say we have 2 minutes.
So we have 2 minutes now.
Yes.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and Lola today on the show. If I was going to just put it all together for you in a nutshell, we spoke about Lola's fantastic and amazing career, right? She has moved from programmer to head digital and innovation at Union Bank.
And she's going somewhere.
Lola is driven by the facts, by where she's going, and that her work is creating impact. She commemorates with you, felicitates with you if you want to dump Nigeria. She understands, right? Yes. But she's saying that there are opportunities here, and if you feel like you're stuck in a rut, right, you can get up, identify problems that can be solved, and reach out to your community and your network to help you. And you can also just Google.
You can literally look in and find what you have on the inside of you. And another thing that I wanted to also mention, because I wanted to actually ask the question, why did you decide to move from London back to Nigeria? But I mean, while you were talking, I figured it out. Do you understand? I mean, London, they have a system. The system works. Here is actually where a lot of opportunities lie. Do you understand? So it is our duty, our responsibility. That's what I tell people and tell Ejiro. even go to Canada. Stay here and let's do this together. But yeah, I mean, I feel the opportunity is here and we need to literally wake up. Yeah, it's tough, but then again, we're tougher, guys. We're tougher. Yeah.
This has been an amazing show, and I say this with all seriousness. It was boom shakalaka. So thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ejiro, aka AG Baby.
My name is Winfrey Daniel Kolo, and if you did not see Ejiro's reveal on the internet over the week, please go and check it out.
We love you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, welcome to Lifestyle Central, your one-stop shop for everything life and style.
On this show, we'll be talking about all the latest trends, the biggest news, and the best places.
So sit back, relax, call a friend, and enjoy.
Oh, by the way, my name is Winfrey Daniel Kolo.
And my name is Ejiro Esigbone, and this show is gonna be boom shakalaka.
You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available on podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.